What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to the YouTube channel. All right, I've done like 6 of these controllers. Actually, I think this will be number 7. So I was going to go live, but YouTube's like, yeah, you can't go live yet. It says ready in 24 hours, so whatever. But I was going to go live, say hello to my subscribers or anyone else that's on. This is absolutely not coin related whatsoever. So what we're doing in this video, I've already done a video on it, but because I've gotten better at this is an Xbox original Xbox controller, and this is the actual S controller, probably the most popular controllers ever for the original Xbox system that came out like over 20 years ago. So what we're going to be doing in this video is we're going to refurbish this controller. I already did a video on it, but I was going to do another one. And can't find my buttons. Oh, here they are. And we're going to be changing out the joysticks just because they're a little cruddy. I'm keeping some of these uglier ones, though, just in case I come across a controller that's beyond repair. So I've been keeping some of these older ones. I don't know, maybe one day someone will come across a way of how to fix these. But this is like these are off another one. These weren't really that bad, but still kind of older and crusty. And then here's the brand new replacement ones. And the replacement ones are actual true Xbox ones. They're not like some cheap made in China ones. And these work really well. So we're going to be replacing this on this, plus cleaning everything else up. And we're going to do it in real time so you can see how long this takes once you get pretty good at it. So we're going to get some Q-tips going. We're gonna get a little alcohol spray going. We're gonna get another towel going just to clean the edges and the controller itself, and a little bit of juicy juice for the inside components of the joysticks in case they're a little crusty. Sometimes though, the last couple I've done, it's been completely fine. So first thing you want to do is get to the screw here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws that you can see, but there's always a 7th one buried in here. And the proper way to do it is you just take a little razor blade, kind of pick at it. If you got fingernails, you probably could do it with your fingernail. And then I'm going to take some tweezers, and I'll try to zoom in a little better here. And we're looking just to peel it back. And we'll use some glue to glue that back later. But that's screw number 7 we want to get to. Sorry, I had to turn down the music. Don't want to get a copyright violation. So you just take your screwdriver, go in there. I do not recommend using an actual drill. You will end up stripping these. Plus, you need a very small tip screwdriver that fits perfectly inside there. I do recommend like having a little tray to put all your little screws in so they don't go flying, and obviously having plenty of light. And so putting those aside. And it doesn't really matter like what part you start at to unscrew it, as long as you just get them out. It does help a little bit if you have a little magneticness to your screwdriver like that, so it holds onto the screw as it comes out of there. But again, I just want to do this video to help someone out that runs across one of these and wants to change out the joysticks. Just if you do get new joysticks, just make sure you actually get ones that are authentic. You don't want to get like any aftermarket made somewhere else China parts, because then you're basically replacing an authentic part with a Chinese part, and the Chinese part, even though this is made in China, but you don't want to put aftermarket parts on your controller, because then it's like that defeats the purpose of you spending the time cleaning it out and just getting something really authentic. It'll last longer too. Like if you do this, like this controller should be good for another 10 years or 5 years or however many hours. Dude, what is up with this screw? Why are you messing with me, man? Come out already. Well, sometimes that happens. So as you're unscrewing it, the screw will just like refuse to come out because it gets stuck on plastic. So what you want to do is just unscrew everything else. This one's doing the same. So it's like those two. Sometimes these can get kind of rusty too. So when you take these out, like you want to look at the screw itself. So like these are nice and black, but some of these I pulled out are literally like rusty. So it's like, dude, really? Like, did the prior owner like have this submerged? I mean, I know your hands get sweaty, but it's still pretty nasty. All right, so we still have our 2 screws in here. So now we got those 2 out. So you should have a total of 7 screws. And then you want to take it apart with the buttons. Let me put these aside. You want to take this apart with the buttons facing down. It doesn't really matter. I mean, if the buttons fall out, they fall out. But this way you have direct access to the back panel here. And what you want to look for is just to see if you have any crust inside here. See, like right there. That's typically, you know, where someone's holding it with their hands and they're eating Cheetos or Doritos or just sweat, skin, whatever, grossness. So we're going to spray a little alcohol here on the towel and just kind of get in here. Just get any of that grossness out of there. But all in all, like this one looks really good. Like this controller is clean. So this looks like it was not someone's main controller. This probably was somebody's spare. So what that means is, remember the Xbox, you can actually connect 4 controllers to the system. They're all wired. And this might have been just a spare controller that a family had or someone had when they had a friend come over and play a game, like a 2-player game or even a 4-player game. So this one's actually this one's in really nice shape. And again, you can tell by the inside. Sometimes I open these up, dude, there's literally like bugs. Like when I opened up, there was ants, and it wasn't cockroach, but it's definitely like some sort of creature died in there. So this one's like super clean. And then you also want to like kind of clean by the trigger parts, because that's the part where you do a lot of triggering, and again, grossness can come out of there. And if you want to be very, very meticulous, heck, my Q-tips go. The older, like the more heavily used controllers, so you want to spray a little alcohol on the Q-tip tip. And some of these controllers, they get really nasty in these holes. This one actually is in good shape. So there's been times where I put a Q-tip in here and it's a lot of nastiness that comes out of there. This one's fairly clean. Again, it's not perfect, but that's another spot where dust and debris can get into. So this part's done. Then what you want to do next is see how these things rest in here. So you want to check the motors. I like having the tweezers around because sometimes there's like dog hair or pet hair that for whatever reason just finds itself into a controller. And then here's a good opportunity where you can look at the trigger buttons. And again, there can be a little bit of something on there. Let me zoom in here. See all that? So again, you can just spray a little in the towel and just get to those parts. You don't have to take the triggers off, but this gives you an opportunity just to clean them, make them nice. Because when you're, when you're virtually shooting somebody, you want to have the real nice trigger feel. And then these motors are in excellent shape. So again, you can just tell by looking at these. This controller is a real nice shape. You want to look here, see if there's any, debris or anything. And this all looks really sharp. And there's a little hair here, but these triggers look good. So then you want to lift this up, and you want to take your motors out separate, and then just lift it off gently. And then here we're stuck with the button pad. So these little pads here, this is where all the buttons press and contact. And this guy here can get pretty nasty. This one's actually pretty nice. Like some of these controllers I was taking apart, I literally was like taking it all out and I was like submerging the whole base because there was so much like nasty old gunk in them. But this one's in good shape. So like I said, by taking this apart, I can tell that. See that? I mean, that's already clean. So I can tell like this was not someone's main controller. And then for the buttons, you can take them out one by one, or literally I like to just take it like this, just dump them all. And what you're looking for is a lot of times there'll be crust that develops on the buttons themselves. This one is very clean, but we're still gonna go through it and polish each button. So again, we're looking, sometimes little crust can get in there on each side. So we clean each individual button, and you don't have to worry about how the buttons come out because they only go in one way, so you really can't screw it up. It's like Pop Goes Perfection, that game, if you guys ever played that as a kid or as an adult. You can only fit the piece in one way. Alright, so we've got all our buttons, they're all looking good. We'll set those to the side. We've got our pads cleaned up, and you want to look for like hair, any debris. And you can take the D-pad off. Sometimes the D-pad gets pretty nasty. There's like little crust that gets there and in the inside. So again, while we have this apart, there are two little silver screws in there, and then there's like these little tabs. So like I said, since we already have this apart, we might as well get in there and take those two little silver screws out. I don't have to do this on this one because it's that clean, but I mean, might as well while we're in here. And again, it's very important to have a screwdriver that fits the screws perfectly. You don't want to strip these when you're unscrewing or screwing them back in, because then that'll create more problems. And then there's like these little tabs, so you just want to press into them, and then it literally comes out, the D-pad comes out from underneath. And then you take this out. So here we can inspect that. That looks clean. There's a little old bug hair right there. So we'll get that cleaned out, and then we want to take a real nice look at our D-pad. So it's very common to get scum in the little corners here. So where the heck did my spray bottle go? Oh, it's hiding with the towel. And then the alcohol you want to use like 80% or higher. I mean, 40% or 60% is okay, but the higher the better, because that's the faster it'll actually disappear or turn into air. The lower alcohol contents are kind of not really what you want to use on electronics, because then you're going to get some rust. Alright, let's take a look at that. So our D-pad looks nice and clean. And again, the clip's only going one way. And now we want to take a look at our controller back. Again, this is where bugs and stuff can hang out, and we want to look at these parts here. So this one's okay. There's a little bit of dirt here. So we'll just take some spray here, get it on our towel, and then go on around the edges. But if your like plastic housing here is really nasty, like if there's a lot of crud on there, you could take some Dawn dish soap, put it in some hot water, not boiling hot water, but just put it in a pan, not a pan, or like a bowl that's big enough to kind of submerge it, let it soak for like 5 minutes, and then you can really get to cleaning. But like this one, once it's all cleaned up, like this literally feels like a controller that probably was used under like less than 10 hours, or it's a little worn from over the years. All right, so that looks nice and clean. So again, you want to look in these areas here, the buttons, and then inside, everything looks nice and clear. So now we're going to reassemble. So we're going to start with our D-pad. So this little tab here up here only fits in with the tab up here. So you just want to go like that. And then you flip it, and then you take your actual D-pad, and that only lines up one way. and then that snaps in. But don't forget your 2 screws. So you want to take the 2 screws, little silver ones, not the black ones, and probably want to get on your screwdriver first, and then just screw those back in. And take the X screw. And again, it only goes in one spot. So you really can't make mistakes when you're putting this together. The only mistakes you can make is if you're losing screws, or you're on, you're doing this on top of a table without a towel, and then like you accidentally knock something over and the screws go flying. You're never gonna find them again, or if they go underneath the counter. Like that would suck, because like I have no idea where you get spare screws besides like buying a controller and just using it as parts. All right, so the D-pad's back on, and then this actual part will go on next. So this pad here, you want to take these parts and make sure they're fully onto the holder part there. You want to take your back and start button, I believe that it is, and that only goes in one way like this. And if you try and put it the other way, it doesn't let you. And then you got your white button, which again, it only goes in one way. You can't screw this up, guys. And then there's your black button. That only goes in one way. Your green button only goes in one way. So you don't have to like memorize where the buttons go, because it will not let you assemble this incorrectly. Yellow button. Like you can't even put them in upside down, it won't let you. Alright, and then this particular part here, this is important. When you put this back on, you want to make sure it's clamped in all the way. And then that's just going to rest on there like that. So then you leave it like that. Okay, so don't touch that anymore. And then here, let me zoom out. These are our old. So let's set the button part aside. And here's a good idea, even if it's clean like this one, you want to take the opportunity to kind of clean the button areas here. So just make sure that's cleaned off. And then your buttons here, which are the D-pads, and then these little buttons here. And then when you take the joystick off, this one's really clean. Sometimes when you go inside, let me zoom in so you guys can see. Sometimes when you open these up, like these can get like crusty, and there's all kinds of like fun goodness inside. And I have put like WD-40, not like anything crazy, but just to kind of lube these up. But this one doesn't need it. These all react nicely and they're clean. But sometimes you'll want to get in there and get the crud out of there. And then this also is the good opportunity to get in this part and clean these guys out. Again, this one's not bad at all. Sometimes you get in here and that's where all the dust, dirt, debris, old food just likes to hang out. But this board's really nice. So next you want to take your new joysticks, and these only go in a certain way. So there's a flat part and then there's a round part. And then if you look here, it's flat and then it's round. So these can only go on one way. And then you take your other one, put it on. Again, whoever designed this controller, they did a nice job, because you literally can't screw it up. I mean, you can screw it up, it won't go back together. All right, why am I having such a hard time with this one? There we go. And then they should be able to like flick like this. Now, if you go like this and it stays, that means there's a lot of crust in there. So you should be able to flick the joysticks like this, push them down, go all the way around. And you don't want it to where you leave your finger off and then it's like stuck in this position. That means there's too much dirt and grime in there, and you do need to lube those up. But this one's good. So next, and then here's the old joysticks. Like, look at all the fun stuff that gets underneath that. These aren't bad. These are just old. That's just like dry rot, because these do have like rubber. So we'll set those aside. Might use it for another controller or as parts. And now that we have our button pad, everything's installed here. And we want to flip our controller pad like this so that the joysticks are sticking down. And then you want to put it back together. The motor's only going one way as well, so you'll know it's in there correctly just by how it feels. Like, literally only slides in one way. Same with the smaller motor here. And then you want to make sure your wires aren't in the way. So that's all clear, because these things are going to wind around. There should be no wires on that side. And then the trick is with this particular part, this part that's taller on the wire, is you want that wire sticking down so that it rests in there like that. So when you put your other part, your back part back on, that has to be just like that. Okay, and then you take your back part here and you just kind of finagle it on there. Make sure this part's all the way in so that you have your board in that part of the controller all the way in, so no space there. And then again, this wire has to be like that. And then you take your piece here and then just slide it on. And then the first screw I always put in is the one that goes inside the sticker. I don't know if, and then again, this is all together. So I always put that screw in first, and then I flip the controller just to test the buttons and the joysticks, just to make sure they all work and they all feel right. Make sure nothing's pinched before I install the other 6 screws. So we're going to put this center one in next first. And again, don't worry about that. You can always put a little bit of super glue and put that back. So now we want to test them all out. So the joysticks, the D-pad, the back, the start, or sorry, the back, the start, the white, the black, and the triggers. Everything feels really good. So and you obviously want to put all your screws back. And then the last step is you want to test the controller, you know, put it together. I recommend using Halo as the game, because I mean, that's like the game that came with the original controller, or sorry, the original system. So the very first Halo is probably the best game to test your controller, because that's what the system was designed around. And you want to test like how to aim at firing characters, press all the buttons, use the D-pad, just make sure it all works. And one of the things too, you can tell like if your controller is out of whack, is like your screen will fade. So if like any of your joysticks are messed up, you will see like as you're panning on something, like it'll continue to pan even though you're not panning. That's when you know your joysticks are not installed correctly, or you didn't do a good enough job cleaning it out. But yeah, this will pretty much conclude the Xbox S controller. It's the most popular controller for the original Xbox. These are going to become a lot more popular, so if you do see these controllers in the wild, you want to again look for the Xbox Controller S. You do not want to purchase a generic one, so if none of this is on there and it's like aftermarket, just leave it alone. The aftermarket controllers are complete garbage. They don't feel right. They don't play right. It's a waste of, like I've seen them on eBay for as little as $13 or free shipping. Like, guys, don't buy cheap stuff to play your video games on. Go with the original stuff. So if you come across one of these in the wild and these are like completely trash, like all the rubber's torn off and it looks disgusting, these things are built like tanks. So hopefully this video gives you the confidence to buy one of these, even if they're trashed. Take them apart. Just remember, guys, buy the actual real Xbox joysticks. Do not buy aftermarket joysticks. They're expensive. They're like $1 a piece, but it's well worth it. So you should be able to pick up a used, beat up, nasty controller at a garage sale for probably like $1 and $2 for the joysticks. Your labor to take this apart, and you will have yourself a nice $30 controller all day long. Like, I'm reselling these for $30 on eBay. And my buyers are very happy because I do take the time. I do clean them up. And one like this is like, seriously, it's good as new. You can find these brand new still in the wild. They're expensive. They're like $200. So why spend $200 on a brand new one when you could refurbish your own, sterilize it, buy the joysticks, and then obviously make sure it has this part, the end dongle, because your Xbox controller is useless without this end dongle. And then again, that was more for like safety purposes or to extend these controllers. But I do recommend the wired ones, and I appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully you, as Xbox becomes more popular again, more of you guys can utilize this video and refurbish your own. So good luck out there, and I appreciate you guys watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and we'll talk to you in the next one. Bye-bye.